Well, thank you so much for finding time to be with us on Parliament Television and Parliament Radio. And this program is back on your screens and on your airwaves. We're talking about the 2026 budget analysis. We know that effective budget allocation can bridge the gap between rural and urban areas, ensuring equitable access to healthcare, education, and other essential services, ultimately contributing to rural communities' development and well-being. So today, we look at how KALABO Central constituency and FEIRA constituency will benefit from the 253.1 billion kwacha that the Minister of Finance announced some 2 weeks ago here at Parliament in the 2026 national budget. My name is Posent Ndovi. My sign language interpreter this morning is Jason Manda. Like I mentioned, so I do have two representatives from the respective constituencies. We're talking about KALABO constituency. Honorable Miutu, thank you so much for waking up early and be with us on this platform.
Thank you, Francis.
That's Posent, I know, but I always get that. I always get it like that, but it's okay. It's okay. Well, we are one family. Let me also move on to a FEIRA Member of Parliament, and this is Mr. Emmanuel Tembo. How is FEIRA constituency? And yesterday I saw you presenting to the expanded planning and budgeting committee as well. How's been the experience this far?
No, thank you, Posent, and good morning, our viewers. Indeed, we are at a time that we are looking at what is very important to the country's economic development, particularly for 2026. So, as members of Parliament, we've been busy the last 1 month or so in our committees and so on. Yeah, so yesterday, my committee, which is Government Assurances, I was able to present our views and opinions on what was proposed by the Minister of Finance. And indeed, I think a number of issues came up, the way we saw it. Yeah, and of course, FEIRA is fine. We are doing well, at least, despite the challenges. I was just sharing with someone that even when you have challenges, I think you need to be positive. We know that I think the objectives that we've put in place, we will be better.
All right, Honorable Chinga, Miutu, you are chairperson of a very critical committee, and it's to do with legal, and you are part of the expanded planning and budgeting committee, and you've been receiving since Monday submissions from vice chairpersons of these portfolio committees that we have here at the National Assembly. How has been your experience? Maybe let's start with the time you started interacting with stakeholders before you went into the expanded budgeting committee.
Okay, thank you very much, Posent. For sure, we were interacting with the stakeholders. Firstly, we had the interaction with the government officers. We were looking at the estimates for Ministry of Justice. We were looking at Ministry, the head for Judiciary, the head for Public Protector, the head for Anti-Corruption and Human Rights Commission, and finally the head for, maybe about 4 heads.
Okay.
Critically, under Judiciary, in all the heads, there was a sign, a demand for more in all the 4. But Judiciary, critically, there's critical shortage of courtrooms, critical shortage of judges and magistrates. These two, when you put them together, you will see that delivery of justice so much bad. So there was a point where, as members of the committee, when we analyzed, we looked at the figures, the amounts allocated. We noted one thing which we didn't take very well. Okay. This was, we discovered that 60% of the funding to judiciary or justice, let me say justice, 60% of that money was only for one section, which is that section which deals with compensation. So as members, we expressed concern that there are a number of challenges. How do we forego these challenges and just focus on one? So we requested the ministry to sit and look at the figures for the second time, meaning there was need for variation. So we, as the members of that committee, we have requested that there be variation.
Is that part of the recommendation that we expect
Yes,
to see?
that is
I know
what
your committee is presenting tomorrow
on Friday. That is part of our recommendation, to vary, to reduce on the compensation amount, so that part of that money goes to public protector, because public protector wants to extend, they want to expand to provincial centers.
Okay.
Because they are not available in many of the provincial centers.
Okay.
And for them to enhance that, their performance, they will need this resource. So that is one of our recommendations we have done.
Okay, very, very interesting there. Now, today we look at how the two constituencies will benefit from the 253.1 billion kwacha. Let me start with a FEIRA Member of Parliament, Mr. Tembo. How will your constituency tap in the 253.1 billion kwacha that the Minister of Finance has projected for 2026?
Absolutely. No, essentially, as constituencies, the primary where we are going to benefit is through the increased CDF, which is 40,000 from this budget. 40 million kwacha, which is an increment from 36 to 40 million. Now, what happens that the new Dawn government from 2021, changed a little bit the approach. There's more approach to using CDF towards development than central government financing. You will realize that through CDF, ambulances were purchased, which departs from the previous, government's approach. We've been buying yellow machines or equipment to do roads and so on. Then using the funding from CDF, we hope that we can increase even the fuel allocation, which now stands at 3 million. It is important that, CDF being the anchor method of government's approach to development, that, the 40 million, probably, it looks big, but I think it needs a little bit more. Now, further, obviously, we are looking at various other provisions. For instance, Ministry of Agriculture. Ministry of Agriculture, there's FISIP there, which is direct goes to the farmers. But unfortunately, for FEIRA, we only have 590 or so farmers benefiting from FISIP. We've been asking to increase that number to 2,000. Against, for instance, in Rufunsa, we have 16,000 beneficiaries. Here in the neighbor, we only have 500. Now, that is one of the issues. Now, I'm hoping, because the response we got is that we didn't have the finances. Now, there is an increment, so we are hoping that in 2026 we are going to increase the farmers that will benefit from FISIP. Yeah, further than that, of course, there's social protection issues, cash for work. There's 1.3 billion or 0.3 billion. That we hope that that will be able to work well. But there's also increment in the number of again, social protection in what is the other one? Social cash transfer.
Cash for work as well.
Cash for work, then social cash transfer. Those are all under social protection. But more importantly, I'm looking forward to some of the projects that I've stalled. For instance, the infrastructure, road network. We have the Kavalamanja, Chitope. With CDF we can do, but very limited work. Okay,
let me move on to Honorable Chinga Miyutu, Kalabo Central Member of Parliament. How will your constituency tap in the 253.1 billion kwacha that has been unveiled by the Minister of Finance for 2026?
Thank you very much. There has been some increase on some sections that we need much attention. For me, I belong also to the Committee on Education, and there's a concern there that for us in the rural areas, the government the ministry has paid attention to secondary schools. So what is going to happen is that the enrollment for personal enrollment for the primary section has gone down because much attention is on the secondary school. That is going to have a negative impact on us. If you go on the ground in KALABO, you will find that some of the teachers who are allocated, who are deployed to primary schools, they are secondary school holders. Meaning their performance there is not effective. So there is a realignment within the district. So the budget for us is one of the recommendations, I'm sure, which was indicated in the Committee for Education, that there's need to improve on the personal enrollment for primary, meaning there must be additional numbers of staff. We also have this section for disabled persons. Two sections percent has been affected in education.
Okay.
The early child education, despite being increased, the percentage still is very low, coupled with the lack of the specialized teachers for disabled pupils. So these two sections, we have requested the Ministry of Finance to have a look on the way the funds have been disbursed or allocated to these sections.
Okay.
We come to social cash transfer, we come to cash for work. Yes, you know, may I believe in practicability. These funds could be there, but the way they are being disbursed, to me, is a matter, because they are slow in disbursing these funds such that they reach the intended target. People would have worked, but it will take much time for these monies to reach them. Quite all right, when they receive them, they will use it to uplift their livelihood. There's also a mention of communication towers. Right now, we have there's also a concern. I think all honorable members have that concern. The target for 2025 has not been met. 2025, the government planned to plant 80 towers. As we are speaking, those 8 towers have not been planted.
And this is your government. What are you doing to make sure that those 80 towers are delivered in all the constituencies before we get to 2026? Because there was something that I really wanted us to look at in terms of communication towers, and we also need rural constituencies also to be exposed to digital, because nowadays network or internet is everything now.
During our interaction with the Ministry of Science and Technology, it was expressed that there was underfunding. So a budget for 2025 couldn't meet the demand for 8 towers. So we as a committee, we had to request the Minister of Finance to have a look at this. The ministry must accomplish this 80. For 2026, they have planned to plant 30 towers. Look, even if you plan to plant 30 towers for 2026, when you have this gap of 80, which has not been implemented, what are we doing? What are we going to achieve? So there's need. We have also put up a recommendation through the Committee on Education that the government must acquire resources to finish this 80 before they embark on the 30 for 2026. So these are major concerns, because we easily talk about them, we pronounce, but when it comes to funding, it becomes a problem.
All right, let me also remind our viewers that we are live on our social media. That's the National Assembly of Zambia. You can also go to our YouTube page And better still, you can also get in touch with us via our SMS facility. That's 0978 772801. Today, we are looking at how FEIRA and KALABO Central will tap in the 2026 national budget, which is about 253.1 billion kwacha that the Minister of Finance announced on the 26th of September 2025. So I'll be reading your text messages. Let me get to you, FEIRA Member of Parliament, Mr. Tembo. I've seen you on the floor of the House complaining the issue that the Member of Parliament for KALABO has raised, communication towers.
Absolutely.
At times, your people in your constituency are able to access in a network from Mozambique.
Exactly.
And he's just brought out some information that about 80 communication towers that were earmarked for erection in different constituencies across the country were not done. Now in 2025, the minister projects to add 30 more. How is your situation, and how are you going to make sure that communication towers are planted in under-serviced communities?
All right, so quickly, my constituency in 2024 should have benefited 6 communication towers. Of course, because of the drought and those, the budget was said to have been realigned to, social protection. Now, last year we were hoping that we'll get those, and but suffice to say that it's a big problem. Every day we go to Ministry of Science and Technology to push for these things and so on, but that has not been forthcoming. Now, let me also be quick to mention that, as we discuss the budget, we spend more time discussing, what has been written down as what the objectives are in the next year's budget. If we look at performance of 2025 budget, actually it has been very bad. The heads we looked at in my committee, which is about 5 provinces, all of them, this is October, they had only received up to 35 to 40% of what was budgeted for them to receive. Now, we have 2 months, 3 months before the end of the year. So we don't expect 100% release of funds. And I think that's what my colleague has been talking about. Now, for me, still, there's no need to cry over that. I think what we should discuss is, like you've said, I've raised these issues. Why don't we discuss how much resources we can raise from our mineral wealth, from our other resources such as, the timber, mukula, teak, and, all these exotic resources that we have. Right now, there's, talk of about sugilite, gold, diamond, there's gold rush. But why are we having problems? Because the major problem, it's not the discussions or the allocations. The major problem is government raising funds so that FEIRA and KALABO, funds are released as and when they are needed. We have a problem. We are talking about CDF going to 40 billion. We still have the problem of releasing full funding for the 36 million which is there at the moment.
Is it true that 2 weeks ago you received about 4 million for the 36.1?
So, exactly. So now
for the whole year?
For the whole year, we've now gone to about 16 million. Okay. So meaning that we are still waiting for 50, it should be
almost half.
Almost half, yes, yeah, or somewhere there 40%. Now, in my view, I think that this is a critical issue we need to look at. It's an issue, in my view, that we have not handled properly previously from various governments. What we need is to ensure that we raise enough resources. Financial mobilization or resource mobilization is key in budget analysis. But
from the time the CDF was increased, Honorable Member, at least we've seen some infrastructure in your constituency. We've seen maternity annexes being constructed, some number of classroom blocks being constructed. So why should we keep on complaining, but at least people are appreciating?
So I'll tell you that ours, the Minister of Osaka Province was commissioning a maternity annex this year in Kaunga Ward. That maternity was allocated in the 2022 budget, CDF. Okay, so you will realize that these are delays. So hence the complaint. If funds are released in good time, or funds are sourced, because the problem is not the release of funds. The problem of the minister is to source resources. The mining companies, which are owned by foreign entities, are saying that, no, look, we need to make profits. But what about us as a country? We need to make profits equally. Let me also just say that I know the minister has proposed a budget on mobile transaction. I mean tax. I think that is not the rule. For me, let's go to the even 2% from the mines will make us stop talking about all these issues.
Let me bring in Kalabo Member of Parliament. The minister in his budget speech hinted or made some pronouncements that the 2026 national budget will be about 82% locally funded. These are monies that will be mobilized through domestic taxes. Do you think that is practical, Honorable Miyuto? 82%
or not practical? First of all, we have to analyze, we have to know our citizens. These are the same people who should generate these monies. 82% should be generated by the Zambians, including those in Kalabo. That's what it means. But the question is, they will generate that money from where? Where will these citizens, what activities will these citizens do that will culminate into the 82% to fund the 2026 budget? For me, Mr. President, I have lived as a socialist. I like socialist communist principles where the state owning these serious entities, to me, becomes very cardinal. Imagine the government owning just one mine. Let's just imagine. Not receiving tax, no. Just owning one, becoming a state-owned mine. How would the situation be? If, for me, I feel, if we are doing better the way we are doing with tax, if we had a state-owned mine, to me, I believe things would have excelled more. We can debate, like Honorable FEIRA is saying. This is not the matter. The matter is the actual resource. So we need to have a proper resource. The major source in Zambia is mining. Agriculture, tourism, whatever. All these are just very small sections which contribute to the mine, to the budget. But the serious sector here is mining. So the government must pay attention on how we are going to manage the mining. I always refer people to UNIP. I've lived in UNIP myself, and I went to school in UNIP. How did UNIP manage to handle government matters? It spread out the infrastructure to all the corners of this country. It's because it was owning the copper mine. They were not getting the peanut tax. No. It was the government coffer. When they sell the copper, the money goes into government coffer. So all your plans, you are able to execute them.
You have these brilliant ideas, Mr. Miyuto, and you are a member of parliament for a ruling political party, which is a New Dawn. Where are we going wrong as a country? Why are we not actualizing some of these brilliant ideas that you brought out?
Yes, things have to start. Where we are coming from, there is this terminology of illegal mining. It was more pronounced. Why was it more pronounced? It's because those citizens were not licensed. They had no licenses, meaning the government didn't recognize those people. So the people realized they were lacking behind. So they got into illegal mining. Now, when you go into illegal mining, the government will not get anything because they are not paying tax. So the government now, what it has done is to embrace those people so that we throw away this terminology of illegal mining. Now, what goes with this is that all these cooperatives which have been formed, they have all been issued with licenses. About 1,800 licenses have been issued. So what do we expect from those licenses? Those we expect as they go into the mining. Two things. One, they will sell the copper. We heard from the floor of the House, the Minister of Finance was saying, the Bank of Zambia has started buying the gold. Okay. Now, that is the right way to go. Secondly, all these cooperatives, they will be paying tax. So the tax that will come to the government will add on to the resource basket of the government. And so I'm sure in the next, there is an intention, or there's a, for me, since they have looked at artisanal miners, I'm sure there's a thought that can come in this grouping of UPND, so that we attempt to go for mining itself, so that the state owns part of it. Okay, me have given an example. Look at the drought that was in the last 2023-2024. The government had to engage the Ministry of Defense to go into agriculture. It served us. So it will be in the same way. I would urge the government to go into, for me, let us go into this. You will see that we accumulate enough resource to meet the demand for development.
So you think that can make sure that we realize the 82% of the total budget being locally funded?
There is also an issue, Mr. President. What is this issue I want to say? It's discipline. A group of people who are disciplined will develop because they will adhere to rules and regulations. But when you have people who don't honor, they don't regard rule and laws, you can't develop. You find this word corruption, you find this word theft. Those are resources which are being taken away from where they are supposed to go to deliver the service. So if we have prudent usage of these resources, I believe we would develop.
All right. Honorable Tembo brought in the issue to do with taxes. We're still on how government will raise the 82% of the total budget. You talked about the fees, and this is a mobile money transaction levy. It's something that we are not interrogating as a nation, and I'm sure come January 1st, when my mother sends some money to someone, they'll be shocked how much will be deducted from that transaction.
Exactly.
And if I remember very well, going back to the minister's speech, currently we are paying, if I'm sending 1 kwacha to 150 kwacha, I'm paying 16 ingwe.
Exactly.
The Minister of Finance proposes come 1st January, if you do any transaction, it will go to 32 ngwe, which is double the price.
Absolutely.
Above 150 kwacha to 300 kwacha, currently we are paying 20 ngwe. The Minister proposes 2026 we'll be able to pay 40 ngwe. Above 500 to 1,000 we are paying 1 kwacha. The minister proposes 2 kwacha. So it's like all the transactions have been doubled. Do you think that will help the minister realizing the 82% projection that is put, that the budget could be funded at the expense of the poor, the vulnerable people? Because you're coming from rural constituencies, and most of these people, they don't have banking facilities. They rely on mobile transactions.
And you know what, you just referred the poor and these rural constituencies.
And that's where you're areas
where I'm coming from and where I'm coming.
Yes.
And I'm glad my colleague even put it clearly that he believes in socialist principles. Socialist principles are those that are pro-poor. Now, the decision or the proposal to tax the poor through mobile phone, I think that is wrong. In my view, and the world, this is how the world in Africa is moving, or the underdeveloped world, the world that has been suppressed for many years. If you look at African countries which are rich in resources, the debate is to raise local resources from our minerals. This is happening in Burkina Faso, it's happening in Botswana, it happened in Tanzania, it is happening in Uganda itself. The issue of purchasing gold from locals, it's well organized. Just, now, talking about the mobile transaction, when it was first proposed by the minister, personally, his argument was that no, the percentage will be small. The problem I had with that is commencing such a taxation, because I knew subsequently it would increase, and that was my debate, and this has come to pass. In my view, like you have rightly pointed out, right now, because we don't have banks, most of the transactions are actually mobile phone. The social cash transfer we talked about, the cash for work, and many other transactions in the rural areas take place through the mobile phone. So you find that sometimes, so if I send money, wrongly and is sent back and so on, all those will be taxed. In my view, we should have left the mobile phone transactions without being taxed, or even where in fact we should remove that tax.
Okay.
My view is this: we should look at First Quantum Minerals. The other year they posted a profit of $4.27 billion. That is globally, wherever they own mines. Out of that money, about 2.5 billion was from Zambia in profits, beating all other places. What is the reason? There's what they call price transferring. There are mechanisms on how these multinational corporations, how these countries refuse to pay taxes, and we need to deal with that. I can tell you, if one mine can finance that 100%, we shouldn't even talking about 82. We should be talking about 100% financing from local resources, and that is possible. Now, if we tax through pay as you earn, it's a Zambian mobile transaction, and people feel the pain was, will still not raise enough. So there is a simple route, but the problem is that, for me, I question the IMF. I mean, this is
Honorable, sorry to cut you short, but again, maybe in the minister's thinking, it's better to raise money locally than going to get to commercial entities at an exorbitant percentage. Don't you think that's a wise way?
Okay, so raising money locally. When I'm talking about multinational corporations, I'm talking about companies working in Zambia, mining our resources and dealing with many other things. Okay, and the tax must be higher on a foreign entity than a Zambian. Now, I'm not talking about going to IMF to borrow, no. Because some of the issues we are doing, this taxation we are doing,
we also have local
those
banks
are based on IMF conditions.
But what about local commercial banks? Again, their percentage is quite high.
Now, even when it comes to commercial banks, there are international commercial banks who are also not paying the right tax. Okay? There are systems, like I said, I think if we had more time I would explain. Because, the law on taxation is very weak. And we need to see how international banks, there's flight of funds from this country to their headquarters away from this country. So the minister should look at that. And I think those are the debate that we are having now. And really, for me, at the end of the day, local mobilization of resources means looking broader than what we've been doing in the past. Because in the past, the biggest source of budget, you look at pay as you earn. It remains one of the key sources of financing. That shouldn't be the case. We should reduce that. Let's look at, there's a thinking, and which I don't believe is correct, that if you tax the mines, they will leave. Okay, so, there are many people who want our minerals. Minerals are in high demand. Let them leave. Like the Honorable said, it is possible for government to run 100% of the mines.
During your reign, we saw quite a number of minings shutting down.
Okay, so now there was no
just a quick response.
Just a quick response. For instance, if you talk about Mopani, which we had increased to 100%, it did not close per se. What should happen is this: KCM and Mopani were earmarked for nationalization. We needed to control those. But you see, the people that have been controlling this from pre-independence era, because that's when they started controlling this, it's the same people. We've always put up a fight. Yes, there's always a shock. It's like you stop a job and start another one during that period. But we shouldn't have gone back to private sector. We should have stayed strong. There are other methods we could have survived through agriculture and so on, but we need to have controlled at least 2 mines. And that was a target of, since we're talking about the previous administration. KCM is still viable. Mopani is still viable. We don't need foreign investment, foreign entities to come and run these mines. This is my strong belief.
The issue to do with tax, maybe under 2 minutes, or at least we can tackle other sectors of the budget projection for 2026.
I believe that for any country to progress, it needs to have the resource. And this is our country. So for me, to start, we have to work for our country. So I wouldn't say it's wrong for my mother to pay for the transaction. I wouldn't say so.
Because the price, what is currently being obtaining on the ground?
If you are, those figures you are mentioning of 20 ngwes and 30 ngwes.
They sound small to you, but for my grandmother who is
but for her,
KALABO,
she needs medicine. That medicine will come from the same 20 ngwe. So if we apply prudence, this man, your percent, my belief, you put a strict rule where there's disorder, so that you punish, then people fear to do that. People will want to pay tax unless they see the fruit. If they don't see the fruit, they will dodge, they will run away from paying the tax, because they will feel they are losing out. But if there was prudence in the utilization of these monies we are paying, people would be willing. That's why people, some, they even dodge. Because, like for me, I wouldn't want, these days I've developed a culture. I would not want to leave a shop without a receipt. This is another thing which Zambians have to do. Don't leave a shop without a receipt. What does it mean if you leave the shop you have bought but you are not given a receipt? It means in the circulation, in the taxation system, that money has not been captured. So ZRA will not get anything from that transaction. So there must be a campaign also in this country where you buy, you must have a receipt, so that everybody contributes to the development of this country. One day, through changes of administration, we are going to be there. For me, like I've already stated, there's nothing wrong for our people to pay for these transactions. What we are calling for is prudence.
Okay, let's move to the toll fees quickly. We're still on the fees and levies proposed to be increased in 2026 national budget. The vehicle description, medium heavy vehicle with 2 axle, more than 6.5 tons. Currently they are paying 300 kwacha. That is at that's at Microchilufyasata toll plaza. It's 300 kwacha, but when you go to other toll plazas, it's 50 kwacha. Microchilufyasata toll plaza, they've been increasing it to 400 kwacha, and to other toll plazas, it's 200 kwacha. Heavy vehicle with 4 axle and above single axis, currently 460 kwacha at Microchilufyasata. And all other toll plazas is 50 kwacha, but when you go to 2026, the minister is proposing to start charging at Microchilufyasata 600 kwacha and 300 kwacha to other toll plazas. Other levies, the firearm, I know, I'm sure Honorable Tembo and Honorable Mewtu would agree with me, because we've talked about the mobile money, but again, there's also on firearm licenses fees. Tourist import permit currently was at 80 ngwe. That's 88 kwacha, 0.88 ngwe. The minister is proposing to push it to 3,600 kwacha. When you come to tax exemption, currently people were paying 22 kwacha 40 ngwe, and the minister again proposes 1,200 kwacha. Firearm licenses in respect of each rifle, pistol entered on certificate, mark that one. Currently people are paying 88.80 kwacha. That's 16 kwacha, I beg your pardon. But the minister again proposes to 1.2 kwacha. Don't you think at least the minister struck the balance, and they'll be able to raise some money and to meet the 82% financing of the budget? Maybe let me start with you.
Of course, looking at those non-tax revenue for government, to start with, for road toll fees, for me, for commercial vehicles and all these other issues, it's good to increase, but I think that also before these are done, we should engage the respective sectors. For instance, Truckers Association of Zambia and so on, so that there is an increment, but one which does not kill, because we should not solve one problem and create another. That is my view. Then as it relates to issues like guns and so on, and I think those are neither here nor there. So if it's increased, the impact, because my worry is the impact on the poor. But for someone who owns a firearm, depending on the use, and maybe it's control of, because taxes or fees are also meant to control the usage. Other fees, which other one I can't remember, there's one
exemption tax.
Exemption tax, for instance. Yeah, clearly, and talking about the foreign one, foreign. You see, in other countries, tourists are paying more, and I think in Zambia we're not paying enough. And I think that those are the areas we should focus in. And in the same vein, on the toll fees, we need foreign trucks to pay more. Trucks that, and I hope that the way bridge are also dealing with this, trucks are carrying resources like copper, but the roads are being damaged, but they are not paying enough in order to repair this. Okay. So for me in that area, I think I'm okay.
What's your take on these proposals, Mr. Mewutu?
Paying tax, Mr. President, there's nothing wrong. For me, it's prudence. Those trucks you are talking about, to excel, those are commercial trucks. The goods which they carry, they are not domestic, they are commercial. So a return from that transaction of the commercial to the government to save the people, wouldn't say it's bad. For me, if it were those small vehicles, because that's why you see the small vehicles have not been affected, because they are not impacting much on the roads.
Okay.
But those heavy trucks which carry heavy cargoes, they need to pay, so that is the same money which will repair the same roads which are getting.
What's special about Michael Chilufia's at Tollgate? Maybe why is the price so high as compared to these other?
We look at the location, that is one. Two, how many these commercial trucks are
so the traffic there.
Yes, because that could be one of the reasons why it's doing more. So they have to pay for that, because the road, the more you use it with the heavy roads, the heavy trucks, the quicker the damage will be. So it is better to find this resource which can be used to maintain the road. I'm sure that is one of the reasons why the Chilufesa Tollgate has those fees.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because tollgates, quickly, tollgates are meant to repair the road so that it's maintained the same way. So if there's more damage, more must be paid. I think that is the principle, really. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, like you said, for commercial vehicles, let them pay, so that at least the roads are also maintained, if possible, maintain even others. Yeah.
The biggest challenge again that we face in rural constituencies, and I hope your two constituencies will benefit from the 1.3 billion kwacha that the Minister of Finance has allocated to the gap between water supply and sanitation sector. How are you going to benefit as KALABO and FEIRA? Because in his pronouncement, he did say that the government has put initiatives to tackle or to address the financing gap. The money is at about 1.3 billion per annum in water supply and sanitation sector. And how will this impact water services in FEIRA and KALABO constituents?
Okay, quickly, really, in FEIRA, the water supply is basically boreholes, which shouldn't be the case. We need to have piped water. Now, we have a feasibility study which was done, and a report is there on how the whole district can receive piped water. And our hope and belief is that this money will be made available and we'll be able to access it. But if you look at it, it could go to something like 50 million per constituency. 40 million kwacha, that still, would help, maybe to some extent, but subsequent years it can be fixed. So there is an opportunity if, like we have said, this availability of money, not only on paper but physically, that money being available. And I think that if focusing on the rural areas, then we'll be keeping up with the modern water reticulation system in towns. And this will also stop rural urban migration, because people, when the conditions are okay, or the infrastructure and development issues are coming up, like water, electricity, people tend to stay even in rural areas.
Honorable Mewutu, the issue to do with water and sanitation.
Water and
you come from a sandy
very
region.
It's one of the critical issues we have in KALABO. District does not have rivers. we only have 2 lakes, that is Lilambo and Sehole. The rest of the southern part of Kalabo district has no lakes, has no rivers. Meaning, much of the water which is now to be supplied is from the boreholes. So we have critical shortage of boreholes. So for us, our wish is for that to be acquired, so that they are able to increase on the number of boreholes. Mind you, if you go to further south of Kalabo, that's where there's cattle farmers, the Mitri and the Nguma Ward. So those 2 areas, they need enough water, not only for human consumption, but also for animals, because they keep animals, goats, they keep cattle. So for us, it's a welcome move that we need this money so that it can enhance the supply of water to the local people. Okay, through the solar system, we are able to provide piped water despite not having lakes and rivers. So the same money, if it is acquired, so that there's a step forward to improve the supply of water to the locals, it's a welcome move.
Okay. Again, the minister has allocated 9.9 billion kwacha to the Farmers Input Support Program, which is FISIP, and this will to increase number of farmers benefiting from this program. Now, how will your 2 constituencies tap in this allocation? I know most of the people in your constituency depend on agriculture, together with and a bit of fishing in FEIRA there, but 9.9 billion kwacha, you think this is enough, looking at how vast the country is?
No, absolutely. You see, by the way, FISIP always needs more money. You know, in fact, it can never be enough. So in my constituency, like I said earlier on in my opening remarks, only 500 farmers are receiving FISIP support. Of course, there is under community development farmer agricultural park. Now, with this amount of money, we have a proposal, and in consultation with Luangwa District Farmers Union, they think that in order for us to maintain food sufficiency, at least we need to have 2,000 farmers on FISIP. That way we grow for our consumption, but also to sell. Now, government is looking to exporting maize, and I think the first thing is to boost agriculture production. You know, right now we're talking about 3.2 million metric tons. I think we can do 5 million metric tons, 10 million metric. That potential is there. That's what I'm saying. That money is the usual targets of 1,024,000. But we can even double. We can think about doubling that number. But of course, this comes to the issue that we raised about mobilization of resources. That's why it's very topical issue of debate at any level in this country, how we raise funds for our budget, particularly from minerals. Because I know we've been talking about copper since we were children, but you see, we don't see the real value. And I agree. During Kaunda, Zambia, even the national team, we played football properly. Stadia was created. Universities were created. You know, National Assembly was created because of proceeds from mineral resources. We privatized them after 91, and I think that the story has been different. We need to go back and make resources so that our agricultural sector, you know, when we talk about workforce, there are many people looking for it. But you know, whilst we appreciate that, I've got another problem of human-animal conflict. We have elephants eating, almost in some cases, everything. One part of it, in the Mpuka chiefdom, this is highly affected by elephants, and they do eat. In the Mburuma chiefdom, it's much better, but there, so we can put in as much fertilizer as possible. But also, on the other side, we give them fertilizer, but we also try and see how we deal with the issue of human-animal conflict.
Before Mr. Miutu comes in, let me just acknowledge some of the text messages that we've received. That's the messages on our Facebook page. So if you have any question or contribution, we seem to have a challenge with our SMS facility, but keep sending those text messages on that same number. But we do have a few comments on our social media, and this one comes from Inamba Umwenda. It's saying, Womiutu, iwami wona shangwe kwa kalabo kwano. I hope I got that one correctly.
Yes.
comes from Sunday Junior Muvita. The issue of communication networks is actually absurd in FEIRA. How can a constituency develop when it's subjected to longer hours without connectivity, network cuts abruptly, and this goes on for several hours on a weekly basis? Look into this urgent. And he went on saying, urgent matter, Honorable Tembo. That's your text message there on our Facebook page. Kalalambidila Katungu Christian, you're saying, I'm watching from Sesheke district of Western Province, Zambia. The implementation is slow for the CDF. The CDF is a game changer indeed, but let's just improve on the implementation process. Let's be effective. Let it be effective enough for the people to benefit. All right, thank you so much, Akala Lambidila. And also we have Derek Mwetwa. You're just letting us know that you're watching from the United States of America. Thank you so much. Keep sending those text messages. Your quick reaction to the 9.9 billion kwacha allocation to the agriculture sector vis-a-vis the FISIP.
Yeah, KALABO district is one of the least one of the districts with a very small number of beneficiaries. KALABO district, as we are speaking, only has 610, less than 1,000. But if you go there, as you have said, all those people, many of our people there, they live through family. So meaning they are living without support. So the 9.9 should culminate into, one, the increase of farmers to benefit. Now that in 2026 the FISIP will go 100% on e-voucher, for us it's a welcome move, because there are those farmers who are in cattle. Then they will be able to acquire what can help them to man their cattle. Those who go into rice farming, the way the weather is showing from what the minister was highlighting on the forecast for 2025, 2026, it was promising. So we are hoping if the numbers for the FISIP can increase, so that those who go into rice farming, they will also benefit through the production of rice, through enhanced cattle management. Economically, our people will have benefited, and the welfare will have improved. Okay. So it is a welcome move, but with the increase on numbers of farmers.
Let's get to our SMS facility. It's like the technical hitch that we had on our messages has been rectified, and we're glad for those of you that are sending in your text messages. Remember, today we're looking at how KALABO and FEIRA will benefit from the 253.1 billion kwacha the Minister of Finance announced on the 26th of September 2025 when he presented the projections. Let's see, enjoying the program, John from KALABO. Thank you so much, John, for a text message. Mopani Mufulira, we used to be supplied with mosquito nets and spraying. Is it because the place is big? Okay. All right, kind of confusing, that text message. But thank you so much for that text message. Good to know that you are following with us. Tamwani from Kapiri writes, great program. Please continue with such and giving our legislators a platform to express themselves. Thank you so much, Tamwani. And I'm a truck driver. You are talking about maintenance, but Mukando to Samfia road is bad. Mansa to Mufulira is also bad, and we are paying toll fees. Thank you so much. I'm sure they're referring to what we talked about regarding the increase that the Minister of Finance has projected in the 2026 regarding the toll fees. Honorable Miutu and Honorable Tembo, what programs or initiatives are funded in the 2026 budget to support youth empowerment and employment in KALABO Central and FEIRA constituencies, particularly in sectors like agriculture and entrepreneurship? Thank you so much. No name there. I'd like to know your name and where you're sending us your text message from. What might cause that minimal number of FISIP beneficiaries in FEIRA? All right. All right. Okay, I think we're done for now. We've got quite a number of text messages, but because of time and the challenge that we had earlier on, we're just able to read those. Maybe a quick response. Let me start with
all right. So, for the truck drivers, it's true. They pay toll fees, but the roads are not really being done, and I think that this is a problem that we've had. But essentially, all the money that comes from toll fees must go back to. But obviously, in practice, that's not what happens, because this money goes in Control 99 and eventually is, redirected back. So
empowerment programs for the youth.
Quickly on empowerment.
Move on
empowerment programs. Firstly, we've got the CDF itself. It has got youth and women empowerment. This is open to agriculture or any other. Then, secondly, and Ministry of Agriculture actually it has about 52 billion. Part of the money is this loan, there's, what are they calling that? That loan facility, between 10,000 to about 200,000. So, there's also a possibility. Now, these are issues that are basically just been started and under experimental, but they are there. Even if they may not work effective, I think we can do that. So, there are all those issues from there. But of course, under CEC, there's still that opportunity. CEC is not for the elite only. It's for everyone, and I think that we've been talking about decentralization of Citizens Economic Empowerment Fund to district level. Right now, some DC, operate as agents, but we need an actual office of Citizen Economic Empowerment so that our youth can. So, but even then, from Lusaka or from anywhere else, people can still benefit.
Let me bring in Honorable Miyuto. A quick reaction to the concerns from our listeners and our viewers.
Empowerment. In Zambia, there's a misconception. Whenever you're talking of empowerment, we only think of money. But empowerment simply means enhancement. And enhancement could be in many forms. 2026 budget, which has availed 40 million for CDF, that already shows that that component for the youths is also escalated. Those who are going for trade schools to get skills, and those who go into grants so that they do whatever, whether agriculture or metal fabrication, that is an empowerment. Then we have also in the 2026 budget monies which are meant for trade schools, like we have KALABO Trade School. The funding which goes to that is to enhance, to make sure that the education service delivery at these institutions is enhanced. So the students who will be in these centers, who receive the skills, when they come out from there, they will have the skills which can make them maybe some self-employed, the others will be employed in other sectors. So 2026 increment is not only for general, but even the youth themselves, they are also captured in that increase.
Quick reaction to the issue to do with, they started some roads there, the issue to do with toll gates. The truckers are paying, but roads are not working. Maybe
yes.
A minute on it.
Truckers are paying, roads are not. But if you look at the number of kilometers, it has increased. That's how it is, because where we are coming from, nothing was done. Oh, these roads were just laid like that. So the intention by the government to start looking into this is a welcome move, because a road which has been done will not be done again. Next time they will focus on other roads. So we have hope that all those roads which today are in bad shape, tomorrow they will not be in the bad shape. They will be improved.
I have about 2 to 3 minutes to conclude, but allow me to bring in the issue to do with the roads, because there was one text message that had to do with roads. So the Minister of Finance, during his budget presentation, announced that he has allocated 14.5 billion kwacha for building and fixing roads.
Yeah.
Out of that amount, 1.1 billion is allocated to rehabilitate airports and start of work on the Zambia-Tanzania power interconnector. Now, given an opportunity, honorable members, to select a road in your constituency, I'm sure this is a platform that the people of Kalabo and the people of FEIRA would want to know. Which key road would you pick on, Honorable
quickly, I wanted to just mention a quick issue. You know, from 2011 2021, the PF did something like 3,800 kilometers of roads. Some of the roads, you know, were done on money that was borrowed.
And those were just urban-based.
Apart from urban-based
complaints where
see, for instance,
some roads were constructed going to residential areas.
No, the roads were done countrywide, including the bottom road in southern province, FEIRA, Luangwa Bridge up to FEIRA. That road was done during the period. Wapula and so on. There are many other roads. But like my colleague has said, the challenges are many. So this, you have to match the resources with the needs. Yeah, so anyway, coming to my constituency, I also still have, challenge. Firstly, we are supposed to do those, all-weather gravel for now. But in my view, what I'm looking at, we need to tar the country. We need to tar rural constituencies. How is FEIRA going to develop if we don't tar? So I've got 4 critical roads. There's Kavalamanja Road, which is about 28 kilometers, goes round. This is a tourist-rich area, and there's also an international event that happens every year between Zambia and Zimbabwe to commemorate what is known as the Kavalamanja massacres, as we helped Zimbabwe to be liberated. That is a very important aspect. So that road must be done without fail. Then we have Mangelengere Road. It goes to an area where there's these bananas you eat. Some of them come from FEIRA. Then there's Popa Road. Then I also have, the Mukando.
That's 5 road, and we're talking of about maybe 12 point something billion.
Exactly, but some of these, the first 2 are longer. But
which one is key? Just one road.
The key for now is the Kavalamanja Road.
Honorable,
I wanted to conclude by saying, by saying that actually, as a country, we need to value even the rural areas. I know Lusaka has been taking the bigger chunk of things, but I think rural areas now must be focused on.
Mr. Mioto, one road?
Our priority roads, I would firstly look at connecting the far south part of Kalabo, which is the Nguma. So we need to have, there's this road, Kalabo Kalongora, which in the last regime, it was on the, remember there were about 2 to 3 phases. So the Kalabo Kalongora Road, when it reaches Ndoka, there's a turning to Nguma. So that would be a priority. If we have a feeder road which aims to open Nguma, that can help.
Okay.
The other part is to connect or Kalabo. Sohole is an where we have so if we have a road passing Nangumba, that is another welcome move.
But among all those that you've highlighted, which one is key?
Kalabo Sohole, because even under our local administration, that is what we are focusing on.
There is a perception, Honorable, before we leave, that your government is not walking the talk. Quite all right, good projections, 253.1 billion kwacha for next year, but again, in terms of releasing, it's a different story. How do you make of, what do you make of such sentiments from thousands of people?
Okay, for me, what I would only comment is that there is a delay, but there is a release. For Kalabo Central, we are above 30 million for CDF. So for us, on that aspect of releases, yes, it is slow, but there is almost compliance. So we are also urging. We would urge. You know, a government is a system. So it's a system which constitutes a number of offices. So bringing together all these things so that they match to the expectation of the people, it's not a simple thing. But the government is trying so that at the end of the day, these other challenges will have faced. So if we look at in our committee, the education committee, the feedback we got was that funding to these institutions was above 70. You see that? So there was no complaint from the Ministry of Education of a lack of funding. So, but maybe from other sections, yes, but for education sector, the government has tried because it's above 70. Every quarter, every term, the schools are receiving their grants.
Let's read some take-home messages as we conclude today's presentation of the 2026 budget analysis. And my two guests that I have is Kalabo Central Member of Parliament, Mr. Chinga Miyutu. I also have FEIRA Member of Parliament from FEIRA constituency. Let's read John from Chipata, Eastern Province. Thanks, Honorables. Please help us to talk to Ministry of Agriculture. We depend on FRA money to buy our inputs. Thank you so much. That's a message. I'm sure sitting resumes on the 23rd of this month. So expect a question for representing a person from Eastern Province there. Talk much on copper, please, because indeed we don't see much of the benefits. All right. So the other text message comes from Choma, that's Sidin Munsanje. Please, we thank you for this wonderful discussion. But here in Joma district, on the issue of water, it's still a challenge. We started earlier crying for boreholes, but nothing has happened. Please let leaders work on this one. Thank you so much, Sidin Munsanje from Joma. We need to continue using the Airtel service. Thank you so much. I'm sure that regarding to the fees that the minister has proposed to increase. All right, I think we're done for today.
The first text was what? I wanted to comment on that.
Okay, maybe Director, just bring me the first question, the first text message that came. Yeah, please. Honorable Miyutu wants to see that one from John from Chipata. Thanks, Honorables. Please help us talk to the Minister of Agriculture. We need FRA money to buy our inputs. Just quickly.
Yes, I want to comment on that.
Yeah, just under a minute, Honorable.
If citizens can remember very well, the first target in the government budget for 2025 budget was to buy 5 million
metric tons of maize.
You remember? But the president intervened because of having a much production. He instructed FRA to buy over a million, I don't know how many millions. So what I want to request is that we have to bear, because what was planned for was only 500. Now these others, it means the government has to go outside the box and look to secure these resources so that these farmers are paid. It's not that the government doesn't want to pay or has ignored, no.
But they want to prepare. The farming season is just, the rains are just around the corner.
Yes.
And if you don't have money to buy inputs, it will be tricky. Honorable, thank you so much for coming through. But anyway, maybe I can give you 30 seconds to respond.
We just have to bear. The government is going to pay. I'm sure it's not sitting idle.
Okay, Honorable, thank you so much for coming through. And Honorable FEIRA, maybe
thank you.
10 seconds.
You know, someone has talked about my point, which is copper. Let's continue talking about the benefits of copper. It's very important. Anyways, even the benefits from, even the issue of buying maize, we could have paid the FRA. So for me, it's very important that we talk about our resources, the minerals, copper plus others, how as Zambians we are benefiting. That is very important.
30 seconds, the people of Kalabo Central, the 2026 budget, how are they going to benefit?
Let us have hope, because we are going to procure earth-moving machines so that we start working on our feeder roads. We want to complete the Kalabo-Mapungu road, where I was manning a stretch of about 15 kilometers, so that the people of Mapungu can easily reach the Boma, and the Boma people can easily. So for us, 2026 is going to make sure that all the schools which didn't have the desks, we have finalized the issue of desks. We don't want students who are going to sit on the
FEIRA. 25 seconds, and I mean 25 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. For FEIRA, the people of FEIRA obviously elected, and what we're asking for is that in order to fulfill the objectives, I think government must release funds timely. And indeed, there are a number of challenges, and we believe that with what has been proposed, if it can be implemented, then we'll be good to go. But more so, I think I forgot the point that FEIRA is now moving away from fishing, which has become a problem, to more of agriculture. And that answers the problem. Why the smaller number? Smaller number because people used to focus mostly on fishing, but now we've gone into farming. Yeah.
Mr. Mewutu and Mr. Tembo, thank you so much for coming and deliberate on national issues.
Thank you very much.
We're done for today. Thank you so much for your time. Those of you that have been following us on our socials, I'd like to say thank you so much for your time. My guests that's Mr. Chinga Mewutu, KALABO Central Member of Parliament, and I also had Mr. Emmanuel Tembo, who is a FEIRA Member of Parliament right here in Lusaka District. My name is Paul Ntindovi on behalf of my sign language interpreter, and that's Jason Manda. And indeed, you that have been sending a number of text messages, we were unable to read them because we had a technical hitch earlier on, but managed to read any that you've sent. So let's do this tomorrow again. Thank you so much for your time.
People's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come. Let's go!
Wherever you are, whatever your reason, it's on SuperSport all season long. Reconnect to DSTV Compact and GoTV Super Plus today and get the best football on us.
In order to bring Parliament closer to the people, the National Assembly of Zambia continues to demonstrate a strong commitment to public engagement, ensuring that no one is left behind in understanding how Parliament works. Members of the public are encouraged to attend parliamentary sittings or participate in familiarization tours, either as individuals or organized groups. To kickstart this inclusive outreach, the National Assembly hosted the Schools and Colleges Permaculture Program Scope Zambia. Scope Zambia is a non-profit organization that promotes permaculture in schools, colleges, and communities. The visiting delegation included 5 schools: Mount Makulu Primary and Secondary School, Musamba Primary School, Vayuni Primary School from Chilanga District, Shalubala Day Secondary School, and Chiwombo Primary and Secondary School from Chiwombo Central. The pupils were warmly welcomed by Ms. Lumtu Simpemba, Communication and Information Assistant at the National Assembly of Zambia. Ms. Simpemba gave the visitors a brief history of the construction of the Parliament buildings from 1964 when construction started until 2nd May 1967 when Parliament buildings was officially opened by the first Republican President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. Following the introduction, the pupils were taken into the chamber for a guided familiarization tour. Their tour continued at the National Assembly Library where they were welcomed by Assistant Librarian Mr. Tamikanji Sepiso. At the end of the tour, the pupils shared their experiences and key takeaways.
Today I've learned that everything that is said in Parliament is taken note of for the purpose of future reference.
The best part I had in this tour was where the speaker sits and where the member of Parliament sits as well.
The part that I've enjoyed is where the National Assembly is held inside the same building, which is the National Assembly, where I had seen where the speaker sits and the member of Parliament and the whole process that takes place in there. So I would like, or rather recommend, many people to come and have this same experience that I have had today, so that even them maybe they can be motivated in becoming future leaders in the country of Zambia.
What I've learned about the National Assembly is that it was built in 1967, and I've learned the difference between a National Assembly and a Parliament. The difference is that a Parliament is called a Parliament when the President is there, and while a National Assembly is called an Assembly when only the Speaker is about the National Assembly.
Educational and familiarization tours are important because they help people learn in ways that go past just reading or listening in classroom. Mufumbe district is situated in the central part of northwestern province of Zambia. The district is located about 800 plus kilometers away from the capital city of Zambia, Lusaka. Mufumbe parliamentary constituency, established in 1983, consists of 18 wards which are very active in decision processes and development. Like other constituencies across the country, Mufumbe district has not been left behind in the implementation of CDF. To foster this development in the constituency, 4 new projects funded under the 2022 CDF allocation were commissioned at a total cost of 2,572,596 kwacha. Among the projects that were commissioned by Mufumbe lawmaker Mr. Elliot Kamondo is a 1x2 classroom block and a VIP toilet at Ndunga Primary School in Chimpandanga Ward, a 1x2 classroom block and a VIP toilet at Lumu East Primary School in Kashima Ward. A 1x2 classroom block and desks were allocated at Kikonge Day Secondary School in Kikonge Ward. A 1x3 classroom block, a VIP toilet and a borehole were also commissioned at Katoka Mema Primary School in Munyambala Ward. Speaking during the commissioning of a 1x3 classroom block at Ndunga School in Chimpandanga Ward, Mr. Elliot Kamondo MP said that the increment in CDF is aimed at taking development to the people.
I want to thank the Republican President that because of the CDF money which they gave us, today we are able to come here. If there was no CDF, I was not going to come for this meeting. I want to take you back. This is the school which you had. Now from this one to that one, the CDF is a game changer. Because of CDF, as members of Parliament,
welcome our colleagues. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. So what we'll do is we'll start with introductions. We are live both on Parliament Radio and TV, I think. We'll start with introductions. Introduce your team, sir. And I'll allow the members who are present to follow, then we'll start.
Honorable members, good morning. Thank you, Chair. I'm Honorable Anthony Kasando, Member of Parliament for Bangol constituency in Zambia province and Vice Chair of the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs. And I'll ask my two colleagues to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. My name is Akavaso Kampampi, Member of Parliament from Masalombo constituency. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. I'm Honorable Chalapo, MP for Chipili constituency in Ilwapura province. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, starting with my far left, the outside row, Honorable Scholar. Honorable General Scholar, introductions.
Oh, sorry, Chair. I'm a retired Brigadier General Morgan Swala. I do represent the good people of Kaoma Central in Western Province, a member of this committee. Thank you.
Good morning, witness. My name is Jamba Majira, MP for Mwendozi. You're welcome.
Thank you. Honorable Mabenga.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and welcome, witness. I'm Engineer Rafa Mabenga, Member of Parliament for Muaveldi constituency in Western Province, the place where we have the only train in the whole Western Province. That's the only place where you can find the train. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and colleagues, and good morning, witness. My name is David Mavumba, Member of Parliament for Mansa constituency in Wapra province. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, witness. I'm Engineer Oliver Amutike, Member of Parliament for the good people of Mongo Central, the home of the Komboka ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. I'm Jeff Moreba, MP for Kafula-Futa constituency in Masai district on the Copper Belt. You're welcome.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning, Committee Local Governments. My name is Chinga Myoto. I represent KALABO Central.
Thank you. At least you have pronounced the name very correctly. Honorable Sminji, introductions.
Good morning, witness. My name is Kono Sminji, Member of Parliament for the Likwanda constituency and a member of the Planning and Budget Committee.
Thank you. We also have members who are participating virtually. Let's try if you can get hold of them. Honorable members participating virtually, introductions.
Chair, good morning. And good morning to our witness this morning. Christopher Shakafuswa is my name. I represent the good people of Mandevu constituency and a member of the committee representing my chairperson, Honorable Nyambos. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Nyenda, we can see you. You haven't unmuted yourself. Unmute yourself.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. My name is Miranda Brenda, Member of Parliament for Lundazi constituency and the Vice Chairperson for the Planning and Budgeting Committee. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you. Another? Okay, so we will...
Chair, good morning.
Morning.
My name is Lubushandro, Member of Parliament for Chipangari constituency.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think that's so. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Vice Chairperson, what we'll do is we will give you 20 minutes, if you need all of it, to take us through the two heads, and then after that I'll allow maybe 15 minutes or so for the members to ask questions. If at all there will be any questions, then we'll be done. You can start, Honorable.
Thank you, Chair. As you may be aware, we are the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs. And in accordance with Standing Order 207H, the committee considered the estimates of revenue and expenditure for two aids, namely Aid 29, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and Aid 35, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises Development. Mr. Chairperson, allow me now to highlight some of the recommendations of the committee on the two aids of expenditure. I will begin with Aid 29, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Mr. Chairperson, as all members of Parliament are aware, most local authorities remain inadequately prepared to manage resources under the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, which now stands...
So, honourable members, that is on page number 10 of our submission. Sorry about that. You can continue. Okay. Page number 10. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. So, more often than not, the local authorities lack qualified personnel, strong financial management systems, and sufficient technical capacity to conduct proper project appraisals, supervision, and monitoring in this regard. The committee recommends that a portion of CDF be dedicated to mandatory training of ward development committees in project management to enhance project effectiveness. Further, Chairperson, the committee recommends regular training programs for staff in local authorities to enhance skills when handling CDF projects. Chairperson, the grant in lieu of rates under program 5525 have not received any substantial increase in 2026. The committee wonders how local authorities are supposed to operate when they rarely, if at all, receive compensation from central government. A case in point is the Lusaka City Council. Property 10.5% of revenue from property rates. The committee recommends that central government should regularly and substantially compensate local authorities through a standard formula linked to actual value of exempted properties. This will ensure predictable, regular, and adequate disbursement of grants in lieu of rates to sustain council operations. Chair, these are the rates where government property sits. Government is supposed to be remitting rates to the local authorities, but they do not. So that is what we are referring to at this juncture. Mr. Chairperson, the committee notes that the 2026 national budget omitted to allocate funds towards stormwater drainages, whether by design or by omission, a critical service given the perennial occurrence of stormwater floods in many urban areas. The committee also notes that the ministry already has running contracts towards the construction of stormwater drainages, and that non-allocation towards the same may lead to possible litigations, delayed works, and potential recurrence of floods, which pose potential health hazard, especially in urban parts of the country. The committee therefore recommends that a total of 50 million be allocated towards the construction of stormwater drainage under the program 5526. Municipal infrastructure and support delivery. To accommodate this increase, the committee recommends a commensurate reduction in the allocation towards program 5536, which is under rural development, particularly under infrastructure development. This will represent a 6.5% reduction in the allocation to infrastructure development. The committee notes that the allocation to this sub-program was increased by 91% from 2025, taking away 50 million from the program will still leave it with a growth of 78.6%. I now move to AD 35. Chairperson, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development.
That one is on page 21, honorable members, page number 21. Yeah.
Mr. Chairperson, the committee notes that there has been a sustained increase towards empowerment efforts targeting cooperatives and at the ministry as shown in the budgetary allocation. In particular, the allocation towards cooperative development went up to 28%, while the allocation towards the small and medium enterprises development went up to by 18%. Of concern to the committee, however, is that the increased allocation towards these important empowerment programs is not backed by corresponding investment in capacity and skills development among the target population. In this regard, the committee recommends the creation of an additional program to cater for skills and capacity development, which will be dedicated towards building skills in cooperatives and Ministry of SME Development, ministry staff. Mr. Chairperson, the committee notes that the government is running empowerment programs fragmented under different ministries and programs. This includes the empowerment under the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises, CDF, and other ministries, including the youth. The committee observes that this may permit double dipping when citizens can access empowerment funds from different sources because the program remains uncoordinated. The committee is concerned that if this is not addressed, the limited funds may benefit much fewer citizens. The committee therefore recommends for the consolidation, centralization of the empowerment programs. This will allow for easy coordination and accountability while enabling more citizens to have access to the critical empowerment funds. Mr. Chairperson, the committee observes that the registration process is not being accompanied by training on the cooperative enterprise model, governance, entrepreneurship, business and management skills since it's being done online. The committee recommends that program 2149002 cooperative skills development should be increased from 7.7 to 54 million to improve capacity building to the 140,000 cooperative currently registered. They will represent a 600% increase on the proposed allocation. The increase will further promote and develop cooperatives that are viable and sustainable to achieve job creation, diversification, and inclusive growth. This training should be extended to the ministry staff so that they are effective in promoting and facilitating this type of business model, as most lack knowledge on cooperatives. Mr. Chairperson, the committee notes that officers at district level have only one motorbike to go around visiting cooperatives in the district. This is grossly inadequate, considering the geographical vastness of many districts. The committee therefore recommends a variation of allocation to this sub-program from 600,000 to 3.6, a six-fold change to help ease transportation challenges. Having a vehicle at that level will surely make them more effective in conducting their outreach functions. In order to cater for the proposed increase in the three sub-programs above, the committee recommends a commensurate reduction in the allocation to program 2150-001, Business Development and Financing, 560,257,989 kwacha, particularly the acquisition of financial assets or the financing component. This is 11.4% reduction. This compensating reduction ensures that the aid total remains unchanged. Honorable Chairperson and the committee, I submit for your consideration.
Great, thank you, Vice Chairperson, for that submission. Honorable members, any questions? I see a hand from Honorable Mabenga, Honorable Mavumba, in that order. Honorable Mabenga.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just need the clarification on page 4.
Page 4.
Transfers. We have 10 billion here.
Page number 4?
4. Page 4, yes. On the table, 3.6. If they can explain what is involved in this 10 billion.
Which one is that, sir? Just come again, be clear. Page number 4 has 2
economic classification of head 29, 3.6. 2026 we have a budget of 10.12 billion.
Are you there, honorable members? You said page number 4.
Page number 4, yes.
Table number
3.6
economic classification.
Yes. 10 billion there. Is it possible to explain exactly what is involved? Because this particular ministry, you can't spend the money transferring people every day to spend this 10 billion, which can go somewhere else. And also on the, if I may comment also on the training, I'm wondering whether the committee, why they didn't recommend to carry out first of all the training needs assessment, so that we know exactly what we are talking about, because sometimes it's not only training but it could be attitude issue. But if we recommend that you carry out a training needs assessment, then we can know exactly where the skills gap, so that we can take remedial measures. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Mavumba, you can switch off your mic, Honorable Mavumba.
For me, Chair, maybe on page 11 of the committee's recommendation on financial recommendation, while we appreciate that maybe, for example, where the committee recommends that a total of 50 million be allocated towards the construction of stormwater drainages. What I wanted to find out, Chair, from the committee is that much of the budget for the local authorities comes from the Ministry of Finance. But we are also aware that some of the local authorities are capable, for example, Lusaka, Livingstone, Kitu, they are more capable of generating also revenues to supplement the Ministry of Finance. But in their recommendation here, Chair, I haven't noticed anything from the committee whether they delved into that or they just focused on the budget allocation to these local authorities, other than bring the element of resource mobilization from the councils themselves as well. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so we will allow them to respond, then we'll go to the next. But before they do respond, one of our members, if you look at page number 4, because I think this question has been coming, and I'm not even answering on their behalf. I just want to do a housekeeping measure on the question that one of Mabenga has asked about the 10.1 billion, isn't it? 10.1 billion and transfers. So if you go down one of Mabenga, one of members, this has been coming on transfers. So it says more than 70%. I just want to read what the committee's report is. More than 70% of the budget fell under transfers, implying that the ministry, this is the Ministry of Local Government and Housing, would primarily act as a channel for funds. The dominance of the transfers in the budget signified the pivotal role the ministry played in the disbursement of funds to local authorities. Okay? However, the concentration of the transfer signified limitation for the ministry's operation of flexibility. I don't know to some extent whether that would answer your question, because this is where the transfer funds like CDF, isn't it, to the local authorities. Already CDF is at about 6 billion, isn't it? It comes from the Ministry of Local Government and going to the sorry, I'm not trying to answer on their behalf, just to make that clarification. Remember that transfers, if you check on all these, because it's just personal emoluments, goods and services, transfers and assets, and if you look at from all our interactions, always on transfers the amounts are huge. Yesterday we were talking about Ministry of Finance, where we had about 3.3 billion. And that is the code we had to say. Can we have a breakdown of that? But however, if our colleagues from the committee have another explanation, you can do that. You can respond, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Basically, that is an answer. And probably maybe the honorable member was thinking that is transfer of staff. Okay? It's absolutely transfer of funds through the Minister of Local Government as a channel. So the answer that not the answer, the guidance that the chairperson has provided is actually what it means. And then responding to Honorable Mabumba's question, the drainages, you see, if you want to have sustainable roads in the country, Honorable Member, drainage is a very important component. Not too long ago, we are dealing with performance audit of drainages of local authorities by the Auditors General. I think it's a month ago, and that report came into Parliament. So as a committee, we realize that drainages are very important to ensure that the roads that we move home are sustainable. So we are not only talking about Lusaka, we are also talking about local authorities like Mwense, Monze, Chipiri, and we realize as a community that it is important for government to continue budgeting for drainages so that these roads have a longer lifespan. And besides that, we still have projects that are funded by government in 2025 that are running, but unfortunately there is no allocation for this year, meaning those contractors who are still doing those contracts on phase 1 may not be able to complete the projects going forward. So that's why we are recommending that 50 million may be removed from one head to another. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Mumba, follow up? Okay, just a moment, I'll come to you, Honorable Mabenga. Honorable Mumba.
Maybe just to add, there was also a very strong audit from the...
Okay, point of order has been raised.
Chair, Honorable Mutinta is the chairperson for that committee. Is he supposed to answer?
He is also a member of that committee, so is he
supposed to answer the question?
Okay, on that score, the Honorable Simunji's point of order, if it is sustained.
Sure, does he not want to say? Whether I was asking or I was responding.
Honorable Mutinta, switch off your mic.
He is going to answer through me.
I wanted to find who is the chairperson of that committee. No, who is the chairperson? Amina is the substantive. It's Honorable Mutinta.
Honorable Mutinta is the chairperson, but
you are vice. Yeah. Okay, because of that, Honorable Mutinta cannot make you cannot ask. You can ask a question, but not responding, because he's a member of my committee. So if you have a question, you can ask a question to your committee, but not helping them in terms of responding. Thank you, Honorable Simunji. I've already taken that Honorable Mutinta is the chairperson of on education. I don't know why I mixed the two. My apologies for that. So Honorable Mutinta cannot. Yeah, thank you. Honorable Mabumba, then Honorable Mabenga. We'll go in that order.
Yes, Chair. I just felt that my question was not adequate answered, because what I was saying is not the issue of allocating 50 million to the drainage infrastructure. But what I was saying is that on their financial recommendation, I haven't seen anywhere where the committee maybe went outside to try and encourage that some of the local authorities like Lusaka City Council and Ndola Livingstone are capable of generating adequate funds actually
to manage that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I wanted, Honorable Kasando, from your committee to just check whether you really went beyond what the Ministry of Finance is allocating to these local authorities, to the extent that are they not capable of generating some revenues to supplement what the Ministry of Finance and National Planning is giving them.
Thank you.
I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Wenga, which question has not been responded to? Wait.
Thank you, Chair. That is on training of staff in the councils. Your
second question.
That was
yes. Yeah. Can you put it again so that what was your question?
Yeah. Just building in local authorities. Now, what we were saying in their recommendation, why didn't they think of first of all, carry out a training needs assessment to find out the skills gap? That's when we can recommend, because sometimes these councils is just the attitude the problem. We have a lot of trained people, they are very qualified. Now we need to find out why the performance is very poor. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Vice Chairperson, you can. Okay. Honorable, if it is on Honorable Menga's question, yes, I will allow. Yes. Okay, no problem. Honorable Istwal.
Chair, I think what the Honorable Member for the only district with a train in is asking is to do with the training in the local councils. And I wanted to add, as the Chair answers, that there is a concern, which I think is for all of us, Chair. We have these councils going for training from January to December. One wonders whether we recruit trained people, and the work really in the councils is suffering. Can this, or did you find out, Vice Chair, whether this really can be reduced to the minimum? Because clearly, work is suffering. Month in, month out, we have all the management team in the councils having a training either in Livingstone, either in Lusaka, or indeed elsewhere. The movements are disrupting implementation of development. With this decentralization, the councils are the heartbeat of development in all our districts. But that training is affecting. I thought I should compliment, and you can combine. Vice Chair. Thank you very much, Chair, for that opportunity.
Thank you. Honourable members, I just want to make sure that the flow is okay. In the recommendation, I think from what I heard from Honourable Mabenga, is basically talking about the training of the ward development committees, isn't it? I just want to make that so that we are, but very valid. So just keep it up, Vice Chairperson, because they are related. The ward development committees and the general training of the members. Honorable Simunji, then Honorable Simunji.
Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity. My question is a compliment to the one raised by Honorable Mabenga on transfers. I'll give you an explanation on transfers.
Honorable Simunji.
Just a minute. Chair, before you stop me.
Honorable Simunji.
I agree with you, but give me a chance.
Honorable Simunji, order, please. We are doing follow-ups on the issue of the training. You will come back. I'll give you time for the transfer. We are not looking at the transfer now. Honorable Simunji.
No, thank you, Chair. On the issue of capacity in the local authority, I think they have given a recommendation here that speaks to the training of local authority staff in terms of their inadequacies, which I totally agree that the capacity is surely truly lacking in the local authorities. But I've got a concern when we want to extend training in project management to WDCs. My concern is when you look at that level and the people that we have, I don't know about other constituencies, but I think in most rural constituencies, when you look at the people that we have as WDC committees, and then you want to subject them to training in project management, I feel maybe we haven't reached that level yet. Yes, they can assist in ensuring that projects proceed in the right manner,
But there are certain things that they can do which don't necessarily require them to undergo training in project management. Moreover, the responsibility to monitor projects is given to a large extent to the local authority. And if we are to concentrate training, make sure that project monitoring, appraisals are enhanced, I think we need to focus on that level. But again, like Honorable Chwala has mentioned, then the question that begs an answer is, what kind of trainings are these, what have they been doing? Because we've had the local authority staff go for workshops throughout the year. So maybe we need to carry out a proper assessment as to why we are not seeing change in the local authority in terms of how these projects are processed, despite the fact that they have been going for trainings for so many times. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Vice Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair, for training on the WDCs. You see, Chair, let me say this. This is a problem when you cut and paste programs. From where we've copied this structure of WDCs and so on and so forth, in the countries where Zambia benchmarked, when WDCs are identified in the community, it is usually those who have worked, who have capacity, they are rich people. Then at one time they will say to themselves, okay, I've worked for so many years, now I'm going to render my services at the community level. Okay? So in many cases we discover that where we've copied these programs, the people at that level, educated, skilled and so on and so forth, giving extra service to the community. But in our case, we simply went out and simply said, let us erect WDCs. And if you want to see decentralization that is full throttle, we need to cascade down so that these projects are managed, monitored, supervised by the community themselves, because we've already given them the power and the mandate to identify. So that's what we are proposing. In fact, we could have proposed further that maybe going forward we should even introduce qualifications at that level, a minimum qualification, so that these WDCs will be able to monitor projects at a local level. Because if we leave it to council alone, you see, you realize that there is a cost attached. All the time the council staff will go and monitor. But if you have a local at ward level based people who are qualified to monitor the projects, I think things will be easier. So we are looking in those terms that going forward we need to really look at the situation where these brothers and sisters of ours that we elect at that level at least have a minimum capacity of understanding. Even when the contractor is working, they should be able to identify, to say the mixture of cement and sand is wrong, this contractor is not putting a brick force. So that is the basic skill that we are talking about from this end. Honorable Chala.
You have explained very well on that part. I could only add WDCs are very cardinal, because what we are doing, all the projects are in these wards. Most of the time the councils are not there. So if we could empower them with basic knowledge, they will be able to help the council. That was our view. So it's very important that they could have certain skill, just the basic, to help the council when they are not there.
Okay.
Thank you.
The question by
and then Honorable Mamumba, in terms of Honorable Mamumba and Committee Chairperson, we are aware that local authorities, all of them, for now, they may not have the capacity to mobilize revenue for themselves. Last time when we interacted with most of the city councils, I'll just give you an example. Lusaka has more than 1 million properties. So that in itself is the biggest, Lusaka is the biggest conglomerate in Zambia, even more than some mines, because of the properties that are sitting in Lusaka. So until at that point when we put financial or revenue mobilization structures in place, that's when we will see these people collect revenue, as it were. So we need to help these councils to put systems and structures in place. I'll just give you an example. We are even also lamenting here that because of that, the government this year has decided even to reduce the equalization fund that they send to city councils, because why they have done that, they want to trigger councils to begin to invest in strategies on how they can begin to expand their revenue collection. So that in itself, by withdrawing part of the equalization fund, is a push on these local authorities to encourage them to see, look around, you have a lot of properties, and in fact what we urge the Ministry of Local Government is to help these local authorities to expand, improve their revenue collection strategies. That is what I would say on that question. But before we do that, meanwhile we're asking that government we move the 50 million for stormwater. As I said, we just had a report from the auditors that we've done very badly in the past. I don't know if I've left some questions unanswered. Maybe on honorable capacity building for local. Yeah, so basically that is a recommendation that we are giving to this committee, is that further we need to do the skills gap. Okay, but in fact, if I remember, there was a skills analysis gap program which was undertaken about 4 years ago, and there is a report to that effect. And usually when we produce reports, we don't implement, we don't actually implement them. I am aware there is a skills gap analysis that was done through the Ministry of Labour in collaboration with the Ministry of Commerce and Youth and Sports. So Honourable, that is a valid observation that we need to know the gaps that are there in order to because you can't start training people before you know. It's just like when you go to the hospital. Okay, the doctor would diagnose first, will not prescribe medication until you discover what is going on. So that is a valid point, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Simunji, then Honorable Mulebwa. Your mic.
Chair, I think I'll bring my issue after the session.
After the?
After I finish with the
okay, that's right. Witness. Thank you. Honorable Mulebwa.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think the issue has been discussed partly, except I was just wondering why the council can't train manpower, because earlier on the witness said that the council lack untrained personnel. So I was wondering why this is so when we have so many people looking for jobs, and some of them actually possessing necessary qualifications. I was just wondering why if the witness asked the council as to why they do not have trained personnel. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you able to respond to that?
Yeah, yes, Chair. As a country, we do have a problem. You remember in the past, councils employed their workers themselves through the councillors before the Commission for Local Government was created. We are having a situation where council workers are transferred at will, at any time. General was talking about capacity building. Let us just imagine an engineer who is employed at Zambia Town Council and he has attended extensive training, maybe for a year. When the council thinks now they have their director of works or engineer capacity built, is moved to Nchelenge, you employ a new one who also would need capacity building. So until we come to the stage where probably maybe we can decide, do we still need the service commission to employ council workers, or we move this function to the local authority themselves, that as they are employing, they interview and engage the people that they strongly feel are qualified to undertake the responsibilities. But as long as we wait for these councils to receiving workers almost on a daily basis, and even the rate at which they transfer these principal officers, that is where the problem is, Chair. As far as the committee is concerned, until we stabilize the movement of staff, and that's when probably we are going to see capacity being implemented at the local authority level. That is what I would submit on that score, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Under head number 35, Minister of Small and Medium Enterprises, there is on your recommendations and observations. We have raised the concern that the ministry has approved applications for funds worth 40 billion. While the budget has just increased from about 391 to 519 million. Now, through your engagement with the ministry, sure, I mean, if you approve the loan, I want to believe that these applicants have been somehow notified that your loan has been approved. And the total they are sitting is on 40 billion. Their total allocation is 519, just say 500 members and 16 million. Doesn't that cause anxiety from the? You can imagine you are told your application has been approved, and in fact you know that the total is 40 billion. That's what they are sitting on. Again, is what they have been getting about 516 million. Doesn't that cause, is it the lack of a system where they would know to say what we have given maybe for this year is roughly maybe 516 and approve to that equal amount, to remove this expectation and anxiety from the people to say, like you can imagine I'm waiting for a loan. Those are the stories we are hearing. So I've been waiting for my loan for the past 5 years. In fact, you find sometimes the need also is overtaken because of the time. Like, did you engage them? Just find out why are they approving loans, even when they know that the amount they've exceeded way over what they have been given. I say, and from Honorable Mabumba, maybe we can let him ask, and then we see whether there will be another.
Chair, thank you so much for the opportunity. Chair, on page 2 of their submission, they have alluded to the fact that we have got so many fragmented empowerment programs. Maybe, Chair, what I would want to find from the witness is, in your conversation with the ministry on this particular aspect, what is their thinking going forward? You've made the SAO recommendation, but what is the ministry thinking? Because the ministry also is aware that we have got empowerment programs that are sitting in so many ministries, and your recommendation, you have the considered view that we can consolidate them. But when you had an interaction with the minister, what is his considered view on this particular arrangement? I submit you.
Thank you. You can respond.
Honorable Chala, on the second question.
Thank you. I think when we interacted with them, we picked their views. As a result, we recommended according to what they recommended as well. We have a very big challenge, Honorable Magumba. The way things are done, we are concerned because you find that people who are clever are getting 2-3 areas without noticing. That's why we had to propose that if we had to do this in the centralized in the provincials, it would be easy for the officers to know. For example, CDF, people are getting loans from there. They can apply to CEC. They can go to small medium. They get loans. So we need they propose that we need a system which can capture. If someone goes to CEC, he is given the money, he can't go to council and get 200,000. Again, the same person could not go and get loan from small and medium. So if there is that system which is linked, it will be easy to monitor and control. I think that's their view as well. Thank you.
Just an addition, I think the ministry is also of the view that we concentrate, we put these empowerment funds in one pot, other than the way it is done now. So that they agree that they would love it to to see that. That's why you see, even if I take you to CDF component of loans, you see what has happened, because local authorities have no capacity, they have not been trained to recover loans and so on and so forth. So that's why we are suggesting that let us put all these empowerment schemes in one pot. Now coming to the chairperson's question. Honorable, this is just a question of, the biggest problem is the releases of funds. Okay, let us imagine a commission approves 200 applications for money to be given money in the first quarter. Maybe the money will not come. Okay, so instead of the ministry to sit and wait, they will start processing. That is actually, this is what was their response. They will start processing applications as they wait for money to be released. They were even asking us a question. Just imagine the committee, imagine this situation whereby you are expecting money to be paid to the would-be beneficiaries in March. Okay, and then money comes in October. So meanwhile, what have you been doing? So they are saying it's better we have a lot of people whose application are approved, so that as money begin to trickle in, we just start disbursing. It's just the same as CDF. You see, by law, CDF projects are supposed to be approved every year in February for the next financial year, so that you already have projects that are approved. In fact, the backlog is just a result of late releases of funds, chairperson. If money was released in good time, we will not have this backlog. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, honorable members, we'll end here. Vice Chairperson and your team, thank you very much for coming through to appear before this committee. We are meeting the Minister of Finance on Wednesday next week, and these variations which we have proposed, definitely we'll consider them as we we'll go through with him as we finalize our work. So thank you very much for coming. Do have a good day.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mutinta, don't forget not to leave. Thank
And that was the submissions from the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs Chairperson Honorable Anthony Kasando, Member of Parliament for Bangweulu, interacting with the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee, who are considering the 2026 sector budget analysis report as submitted by the various committees. And I must mention that these committees started submitting their reports on Monday, so the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee will continue receiving reports from the various committee as this committee continues looking at the 2026 sector budget analysis reports. And just this morning, the chairperson for the Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs was submitting head 29, which is the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and also submitting a report on the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises Development, head 35. And quite a number of issues actually have been highlighted in these reports. For instance, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development report, which is head 29, includes observations that have been made, includes lack of qualified personnel, which is of a concern, and they have recommended a sum of CDF to be channeled to training. And others that have been highlighted in the report include continuous training of staff to enhance skills in the 2026 budget. So those are some of the highlights of the report. We continue receiving reports.